welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're zeroing in on something really crucial for running successful retail properties. How you evaluate anchor tenants to, well, seriously reduce the risk in your portfolio. Think of this as your kind of insider track. Understanding how to pick those powerhouse stores that can either supercharge a shopping center or, frankly, leave you with a real headache.
It happens.
Yeah, we've gone through a ton of material for you, practical guides, some pretty insightful academic research, too, just to pull out the essential knowledge without burying you in, endless detail.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
Exactly. Our mission today is pretty straightforward, basically, to give you the confidence to spot the right anchor tenants and really grasp the significant impact they have on your bottom line.
Absolutely. And what we're really aiming for today isn't just like a surface level look. It's about building a framework for making genuinely strategic choices.
Yeah.
You're not just filling a big space, right? You're choosing a key engine, one that really drives the economic health of the whole retail ecosystem.
Okay, good point. Let's get right to it then. What exactly is an anchor tenant in this context? Break it down for us.
Okay. So in essence, an anchor tenant is a large, usually well-established and ideally widely recognized store, and it's strategically placed within a shopping center.
Right.
Its main job, really, is to draw a significant number of shoppers to the property.
So they're the main draw, the headliner that pulls in the crowds. I think one of our sources used a great analogy like the star act that makes everyone else want to join the party.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
It really sticks with you. And it's not just about occupying a big chunk of space, is it? There's more to it.
Oh, not at all. Their value goes way beyond just square footage. A strong anchor tenant acts like a big magnet for foot traffic. And the customers they bring in, well, they're potential buyers for all the other businesses in the center, too. And that translates directly into better overall profitability for the whole property.
But it's so important to remember, and actually several of our sources really hammered this home, that just dropping in any well-known name isn't, a guaranteed win.
Yeah.
It's about finding the right fit. That seems to be the thing that truly makes the difference.
Precisely. A poor match can actually backfire, have negative consequences,
Right.
which leads us nicely into the critical criteria you should be evaluating when you're looking at potential anchor tenants.
Okay.
The first one, and maybe the most fundamental, is customer base alignment.
Okay, let's dive deeper into that. What does customer base alignment really mean for, someone looking at a potential tenant?
Right. At its heart, it means making sure the typical shopper for that anchor tenant closely matches the demographics and maybe even more importantly, the lifestyle of the local community around your property.
Okay.
We saw a classic example in the research. You probably wouldn't want, say, a high-end surfboard shop as your main draw in a town that's landlocked and has cold winters.
Right.
Right.
Obvious when you put it like that.
The core customers just wouldn't align in any meaningful way.
That makes perfect sense. You need that natural overlap. Okay, so what's the next crucial factor we should be thinking about?
Well, beyond getting that customer fit right, you absolutely have to thoroughly assess the tenant's track record and the strength of their brand.
Track record. How so?
Like, how consistently have they performed in their other locations? Are their stores generally busy, successful? This isn't just, hearing things. You should be looking for actual evidence of their ability to attract customers and keep them coming back.
So it's about looking past the shiny name and really digging into their actual performance. How can you, as, say, a property owner, effectively gauge that track record?
There are several key things to look for. The materials we reviewed suggest carefully monitoring news reports. Look for info on their store openings, but just as important, any closures.
Oh.
That can give you really valuable clues about their growth trends or, potential weak spots. Also, doing a basic check of their financial stability is just non-negotiable. Poor credit ratings, known money troubles. Those should be immediate red flags. You might even want to look beyond just current reports. Maybe understand their long-term debt situation, potential future financial pressures.
Definitely sounds like essential homework.
Yeah.
What about the lease agreement itself? That has to be a huge consideration, right?
Oh, absolutely. The lease terms you set with an anchor tenant are, well, paramount for long-term stability. Our sources really stress the significance of getting long-term leases.
How long are we talking?
Ideally, you're looking in the range of 10 to 20 years. That gives you a crucial level of predictability, right, commitment.
Okay.
And you should also strongly consider putting in rent review clauses,
Hmm.
maybe linked to performance metrics like their sales figures or just inflation rates. That helps ensure the lease stays fair and reflects market conditions over time.
That makes sense. You want the rent kind of tied to their success and the wider economy.
I also remember reading something about requiring regular store renovations in the lease. Yes, exactly. That's another vital piece emphasized in the materials. If you mandate regular store updates, it helps ensure the anchor tenant space stays modern, stays appealing to shoppers,
Right.
which, indirectly benefits all the other tenants too. A dated or rundown anchor store can really drag down the perception of the whole property.
Good point. Okay, so we've covered customer fit, track record, lease terms. What other key things should we be looking for in a potential anchor?
Broad customer appeal is really essential. The anchor should attract a consistently significant number of shoppers, ideally across a wide demographic.
Hmm.
One source specifically pointed to the value of focusing on tenants that offer essential goods or services things people need regularly rather than just chasing the latest fleeting trends.
So stability again, like what kind of tenants?
Think well-established grocery stores, maybe comprehensive gyms, or easily accessible healthcare clinics. These types tend to have more enduring, stable appeal.
So stability and consistent demand are really key here. And I imagine the actual physical location of the anchor within the property itself is also pretty significant.
Undeniably, yeah. Anchor stores need to be strategically positioned. Prime locations within the center, really good visibility from main entrances, main pathways. The goal is just to maximize their ability to draw people in right when they arrive.
This is quite a list of factors to juggle. Is there a more, I don't know, systematic way to approach this whole selection process?
Yes, and the research we looked at does touch on this. One source talked about a structured decision-making framework. It actually uses data to match different types of tenants with the most suitable spots within a mall.
Interesting.
It's about moving beyond just gut feeling and taking a more data-driven, analytical approach to where you place tenants.
That sounds really valuable for optimizing the layout. I also recall reading about something called the Tenant Criteria Manual. What was that about?
Ah, yes. The Tenant Criteria Manual. That's an extremely useful tool. It helps you clearly define the specific qualities and standards you expect from all your tenants, anchors included.
Like what?
Well, this manual might specify, for instance, that all anchor tenants have to keep consistent operating hours, or maybe stick to a certain look for their storefront signs to maintain a unified feel.
Okay.
It basically lays out the rules of the game for things like signs, store design, even compatibility with neighboring businesses. It helps you build a cohesive, attractive shopping center environment. Think of it like setting the overall standards for the whole property.
So it's about building that unified brand and customer experience. And I guess having a clear checklist
Yeah.
based on all these defined criteria would be a really practical way to stay organized, make sure you don't miss anything.
Absolutely. A well-designed checklist ensures you methodically evaluate each potential anchor against your preset requirements. It helps minimize personal bias too, and leads to a more, objective decision.
Now, let's flip this around. Let's talk about the other side of the coin. What are some of the major red flags, the things that should make you seriously pause or maybe even walk away from a potential anchor tenant?
Well, we've touched on a few already, like poor financial stability or that obvious mismatch with the local customer base.
Right.
But another really significant warning sign is a tenant who's only interested in a very short lease term.
Why is that bad?
It often signals a lack of long-term commitment to that location, and it could leave you facing a huge vacancy much sooner than you'd planned for.
That makes total sense. You're looking for a partner, someone invested in the long haul, right?
Exactly.
Are there any other critical warning signs, things that should set off alarm bells?
Yes, definitely. You really want an anchor tenant who gets that their success is tied up with the success of the entire shopping center.
Hmm.
If a potential anchor seems totally focused on just their own operation and shows zero interest in contributing to the overall vibe and appeal of the property, that's a major concern.
So they need to be a team player.
Pretty much a collaborative partner, not just someone renting space. And, we also saw that real-world example in our sources about the electronics retailer.
Well, yeah, the one hit by online shopping.
Exactly. Initially super successful, but then got significantly hammered by the shift online and ultimately left this massive vacancy. It just really highlights how important it is to pick anchors whose business models seem like they'll actually last, enduring relevance.
That's a really powerful reminder, isn't it? To think about the long-term viability in the face of Well, changing shopping habits. And wasn't there also that cautionary tale about the pet supply store near the high-end boutiques?
Spot on. That scenario perfectly shows why tenant synergy matters. A seemingly popular anchor might not actually be beneficial if it doesn't attract customers who are likely to also visit the other stores in your center.
Like the pet store example.
Right. A high-end pet store, for instance, might not draw the same crowd as, say, a bunch of discount clothing stores. It could even create a kind of jarring or incongruous shopping experience. You want tenants that complement each other.
So getting it right isn't just about the anchor zone success. A well-chosen one can create this positive ripple effect, benefiting all the other businesses.
Precisely. That's the ideal scenario. A strong anchor brings in more shoppers overall, and that increased foot traffic naturally leads to higher potential sales for all the other tenants. It generates a positive cycle throughout the whole property,
Right.
and that, in turn, can make your center a more attractive, more desirable location for other businesses looking to set up shop. I remember one end case mentioned a sort of unconventional anchor, a high-quality local butcher shop.
But to shop.
Yeah. It actually revitalized a whole small shopping strip because it attracted this very specific loyal customer base who then started frequenting the other little shops there.
Wow. And we saw a compelling example in the materials, too. A shopping center that was kind of struggling
Mm-hmm.
until a strong grocery store moved in. And suddenly, bam, it transformed into this popular destination, pulled in a whole bunch of other diverse businesses. It really shows the power of a well-selected anchor. It can be a real catalyst.
It absolutely does. It changes both the perception and, importantly, the actual performance and viability of the entire center.
Okay, so for you, the learner, tuning in right now, let's make this really practical. What are some concrete, actionable steps you can take, like right now, based on what we've talked about?
Okay, first step. Start by really visualizing your ideal anchor tenant. And don't just focus on the size of the space, right?
Right.
Think deeply about the specific needs, the preferences of the local demographics around your property. Who are the people living and working nearby? What type of anchor would genuinely appeal to them and meet their everyday needs?
That's a fantastic first step, really grounding it in the local reality. What's another practical action our listeners can take?
Get online and do some thorough research on potential anchors. Go beyond just their main website. Look for recent news articles, financial reports if you can find them. Try to get a sense if they have a consistent pattern of, sustainable growth and stability. That kind of online sleuthing can give you really valuable insights into their current financial health and their future prospects.
So a bit of digital detective work is definitely needed. What about getting direct feedback from people already connected to the property?
Oh, absolutely. Talk directly with your current tenants and even talk to local shoppers in the community. Ask them, what kind of anchor stores would they ideally like to see there?
Interesting.
Their firsthand insights can be incredibly valuable, and they often highlight unmet needs in the local market that you might not have even considered.
That's a really smart idea, actually, tapping into the wisdom of the crowd, the people already part of the ecosystem. Okay, one final actionable step for our listeners.
Carefully review your existing lease agreements, especially the ones with your current anchor tenants. Make sure you have adequate protective clauses in place just in case an anchor decides to leave.
The what-if scenario.
Exactly. Understand the specific terms of departure, what potential recourse you might have. Being proactive here can save you huge headaches and financial strain down the road. Maybe even think about negotiating co-tenancy clauses.
What are those?
Clauses that might allow other tenants rent reductions or even let them terminate their lease if key anchor tenants leave. It helps safeguard your investment and theirs.
Wise advice indeed.
Okay.
Okay, so to quickly wrap up our deep dive today, we've pretty much established that anchor tenants are absolutely critical, right, for the success, the stability of a retail portfolio.
Oh, definitely.
Rigorous evaluation based on that alignment with local customers and solid financial health, it's just non-negotiable.
Absolutely.
And by taking proactive steps in how you select tenants and really meticulously reviewing your leases, you can significantly cut down potential risks. That point about the long-term viability of their business model, that's something I'll definitely be thinking about more.
Precisely. By approaching anchor tenant selection strategically, armed with a clear understanding of those key evaluation criteria and the potential pitfalls, you can significantly boost the long-term stability and profitability of your retail investments.
On that note, here's maybe a final thought for you to chew on. Given how rapidly retail is evolving, continuously changing, how might the actual definition, the role of the traditional anchor tenant transform in the coming years?
Interesting question.
What new types of businesses, or maybe services perhaps, moving beyond just traditional retail, could emerge as the new anchors? The things that effectively drive traffic and create a thriving, resilient retail ecosystem in the future. It's definitely something to think about as you navigate the ever-changing world of your properties. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.